With a population of over 2,200 grizzlies, Katmai National Park is one of the best places on the planet to see bears. Going to Katmai has always been super high on our Alaska bucket list because of its abundance of salmon, making it one of the exceptionally few places where these normally territorial beasts actually hunt side by side.
While we're stoked to be headed to Katmai, we'd be lying if we said we weren't a little bit nervous. First issue is getting there.
Katmai is extremely remote and it takes multiple flights or boat rides to get there. Often these kinds of transportations are impacted by the volatile weather here.
This trip just turned into an absolute nightmare.
Rebooking or just trying to reschedule is almost impossible given its remoteness, the limited scheduling, and there's virtually no internet or cell service.
Next issue is the weather. It's been pretty gross here in Alaska for the last 3 days, and it's looking like the forecast in Katmai isn't going to be that much different. And making that a bit more complicated is the fact that we will be camping there.
We've been camping several times, but we always plan around the weather, so to be honest, we don't really know how well our gear will hold up to wind and rain, which I think there will be a lot of.
It is absolutely miserable.
And finally, we don't even know if we're gonna see bears.
The only time that we were able to get camping permits was for August, which turns out is not the best time to see grizzlies.
So we may be taking expensive flights, expensive boat rides, and sleeping in a wet tent to not see grizzly bears anyway.
So if you've ever been interested in taking this journey to Katmai or watching some big fuzzy bears eat salmon,
Hopefully,
come along for the ride. We got a plane to catch, so we will see you there.
Hey, I'm filming, you filming me. We just landed a little bit late. We've only got like 15 minutes to make it to the ferry, but they're gonna leave without us. Oh, that's ours.
success.
It's raining like really hard now. Oh, Jess is not happy. It's okay.
I just want to escape the rain.
I would say this is the opposite of a warm welcome.
It's a cold, wet welcome, but we got our shuttle.
The boat's refueling right now, and our van driver is nice enough to let us enjoy these last few moments of sunshine. So in order to get to Katmai, you have to get to King Salmon. So that's what we did. We got on a plane in Anchorage, flew here, and from there you can either take a water plane to get to the bay or get on a water ferry. That'll take us about 45 minutes along the coastline until we get to the bay.
I'd read reviews that the boat gets canceled pretty often, but obviously our boat is here, so that looks pretty good. So wish us luck, and hopefully I've been so nervous, honestly, about how everything was going to work between the plane, the boat, getting our luggage, and so far all of those things have logistically worked out. So I don't want to be jinxing ourselves.
We had no idea what we were talking about.
Oh, sweet, naive Justin and Jessica.
Yeah, so we got on the boat, everything went fine. It was about a 45-minute ride, but immediately after we got off the boat onto the coast of Katmai, we turned around to the captain interrupting us, letting us know that we had some pretty bad news.
But more on that later. After we got off the boat, we immediately headed to camp, set up our tent, and then sprinted as fast as we could to Brooks Falls because it was the end of the peak salmon run, and we really wanted to see the bears during our time in Katmai.
Well, we are all squared away in our campsite. Our early predictions came true about the rain. Unfortunately, it's a little wet right now. Also, our campsite is totally surrounded by this electric fence that we have to be sure to shut every time we come in and out. Jess asked in the ranger station if there was any bear activity, and the ranger pointed to this screen that we thought was just like stock footage of bears, and he was like, "Oh, that's a live feed," and there was like 7 bears. Oh, Jess! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! There's like so many bears! absolutely incredible. I mean, we've been looking forward to seeing those bears for years, but that was so much cooler than I thought it was going to be.
It's funny because they're these like kind of scary murder machines with 5-inch claws, and yet they're somehow very adorable while they're like ripping salmon apart. It's just such a unique experience. You generally don't get to see grizzly bears up close. And what's extra unique about Katmai is that it's one of the only places on the planet that grizzly bears actually hunt peacefully side by side. Just due to the sheer number of salmon and other kind of food resources there, they don't have to act territorial.
And it's the same reason why we can be in close proximity to the bears as well, but more on that a little bit later in the video.
There's so many grizzly bears around Brooks Falls because of the prevalence of salmon, but that isn't true all year round. You have the best chance of seeing the bears in July when there's the initial salmon run, and then in September when the spawning fish have died and are basically floating down the river. We actually visited in early August and it was kind of awesome. There was limited crowds, but still plenty of bears. There's like 10 bears behind us that are just like catching salmon as they're jumping up a waterfall. It literally is something straight out of National Geographic. I've always wanted to come here, and I was so nervous because the only time that worked out for us was coming in August, and we kept hearing again and again that's a terrible time to come, but clearly not too terrible, as you can see. But we have not had the smoothest of visits here.
Immediately when we got off the ferry onto the coast of Katmai, the boat captain said, oh, hey, you might want to go to the ranger station every day because there's a good chance the ferry is going to be canceled on the day that you're returning. And then we got up to the ranger station. 10 minutes later, there was a printed sign that said, yes, all ferries are canceled for the next 2 days. So we set up the tent, we went through our bear instructional course, and we went back to the beach at 4 p.m. when the boat returned, and we confirmed with the guy. He's like, I don't know, he's like really wishy-washy.
Really cagey. He just keeps telling us to go back to the ranger station in the morning. Like, just go to the ranger station, check in. We're not going to leave you here. We can get you on a float plane. And then you ask, like, how much it costs, and he's like, I don't know. I can't tell you that. And then sometimes he'll say, we'll cover it for you. We were standing over at Brooks Falls
enjoying the bears.
And this guy comes up again and says, I shouldn't have said that we would fly you out and cover it. There's not going to be any planes flying on... Today is Thursday. We're supposed to leave on Sunday. So there's ferries canceled Saturday and Sunday, and there apparently is not going to be any planes on Saturday or Sunday as well unless we pay for them. So right now we just don't really know what to do because our options are go back to King Salmon tomorrow, but we don't have accommodations for 2 nights.
And we've already paid thousands of dollars for all of this.
And we have no idea how much it costs. For example, the cabins here are literally over $1,100
per night.
So we have no idea if that's what we can expect in King Salmon, and we don't have any internet or cell service, so there's no way that we can look any of this up. Our second option is to take a float plane back on Sunday. We have no idea how much that would cost whatsoever. And then our last option would be waiting until Monday when they can resume water taxi service, assuming they can resume water taxi service, and then having to rebook our flight from King Salmon back to Anchorage. But we have no idea how much plane tickets would cost. Like, with such a last minute booking, it could be anywhere between a couple $100s to literally thousands. I have no idea.
Yeah, we have no way of looking it up. I was so bummed about it, and Jess was super, super bummed about it. We were talking to him down on the coast, and he just said, oh, enjoy your trip. Don't worry about it. We're going to get you on a plane. And I was like, let's just not talk about it and enjoy the bears. And this guy, like, literally came 2 miles to burst our bubble while we're watching the bears.
This is such a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and it's unfortunately just been a little challenging to sort of soak in and enjoy it because now all I'm trying to do is, like, problem solve. So I think the plan is now to go talk to a ranger, see if there's any way we can look it up or if they can point us in the right direction, because Katmai Water Taxi, we're coming for you. You're not providing very good service. That being said, the bears behind us, super cool, super magical, once in a lifetime experience.
Well, it's 8:30. Unfortunately, the visitor center was already closed, so we weren't able to find out anything new or get access to the internet. However, we had a beer. We joined a really cool ranger-led presentation about the geology and history of Alaska and
About Beringia.
about Beringia, and it is just incredibly beautiful. It's really hard to be upset about the circumstances when you're surrounded by natural beauty like this. So we're just going to enjoy the sunset, and we'll worry about being stranded in remote Alaska tomorrow.
I have a really hard time dealing with things immediately and get very upset, and so the last time that we were talking I was very, very, very upset. But I don't know if I'm ever going to be back in this beautiful place surrounded by some of the most majestic creatures there are on the planet, so I'm just going to enjoy it, and if we have to take a $1,200 float plane back,
YOLO!
that's what it is. So we're just going with it, and we'll figure it out as we go. It has been so cloudy and so rainy in a metaphorical sense and a literal sense, and it is so nice to just embrace the sun.
This is what Jessica and I call turtling. I'm going to join you.
We are ending our long and somewhat chaotic day by the fire. It's very nice. Using beechwood, warm, cozy. We'll see you tomorrow, and hopefully we'll figure some stuff out.
Well, it's the morning on the second day. We just bought a new sleeping pad for me about 4 months ago, but for whatever reason, it didn't hold air last night. So I slept on the ground, and it was pretty uncomfortable. And I think I got maybe like 60 minutes of sleep total. Even though I didn't get very good sleep last night, this is the sunrise next to our campground. Hard to complain about this. It's really hard to believe with the water being so calm that it's going to be so bad for the next 2 days that they've canceled every ferry ride into Katmai. This might be the proverbial calm before the storm, and I'm just going to try to drink it up as much as I can, because I have a suspicion that we're either going to be leaving in a few hours or our next 2 days here are going to be absolutely miserable. It's 8 a.m. We're making our way back to the ranger station now. We just saw the ferry arriving a little bit early, so we want to make sure that we talk to them before they go away. This trip just turned into an absolute nightmare. Not great news. We just talked to the gentleman. Basically, we have to go back on a ferry today, and he said if we don't pick one of those boats, then we have to get a plane back, and we'd have to pay for it.
The problem is I don't know. I don't know how much a hotel is in King Salmon. Like we said yesterday, I mean the hotels here are $1,100 a night. This is kind of a mess,
Yeah.
to be honest. I mean, it's a really cool experience, but you have to be very flexible and have a lot of money if you want to be able to just enjoy it and not worry about it. Well, we're going to try to go talk to the ranger now because, like I said, I mean, I guess we have to go back to King Salmon today, but we don't have a flight for 2 days, so I don't know. It's not like we could sleep in the airport, so...
The other campers we've talked to have said that they tried to find accommodations in King Salmon. They weren't able to leading up to this trip. So it's a little after 8. The ranger's in there wrapping up the bear safety course. So basically the weather's so bad that they've extended the cancellations for the ferry through Monday.
So originally this was a 15-minute long section of the video about all of our travel issues, but you probably don't want to watch all of that. So I'm just going to shorten it down to saying we spoke with the ranger. This was his first time ever seeing 3 straight days of cancellations for the boat rides because the wind was so incredibly bad.
So if we wanted to take the water taxi back, our only real option was going back that day at 4 p.m. However, there weren't any flights out of King Salmon back to Anchorage, and there was no available lodging in King Salmon, meaning we'd effectively be homeless for at least 1 night.
Also, we didn't really want to go home 24 hours after we showed up for a trip where we spent thousands of dollars and years of planning.
So we ended up walking over to the Katmai Air Office, a company that charters float planes that get customers back to King Salmon. They were pretty confident that we would be able to fly back, even considering the fast winds on Sunday, which was great because that means we would be able to keep our original reservations at the campground and our flight on Alaska Airlines back to Anchorage.
So we were super excited that we had a way to get back home. We were super relieved that we got to stay throughout the entire length of our reservation. And more importantly, we just found out this super cool new way to see the bears.
We met some really cool people by the fire, and he said one of the things you can do here is rent waders and go into the water.
We have our handy dandy river permit, which was $6, which allows you to walk like basically all along the river. And then we're gonna rent some waders, which is $40 per person. But to be honest, we already did the platform and it was really, really cool. But I think that the river viewing is gonna be a much more unique, immersive experience.
Oh my God, you look so cute.
Lady.
Oh, you're adorable. All right, we are officially wadered up. I think we look pretty snazzy. By the way, if you come to Katmai, do not wear sandals. Probably the dumbest travel decision we've made in a while.
Taking the water taxi was the dumbest thing.
We just rented these waders from the same people who are flying us out on the float plane. They are so nice. We'll link to them in the description. Plus, who doesn't want to take a plane?
I bet like the color of the water is so spectacular here. I bet it's just gonna look insane.
Can you tell how much our moods have changed?
It's been a roller coaster.
I just can't get over how cute you look.
I should put on waders more often.
When I met Jess 12 years ago, she wore dresses and was a fancy lawyer lady, and now she goes days at a time without showering and she wears waders in the water. You wearing these waders is making this trip worth it. I am a little mildly terrified about willfully walking into an area where there are actively dozens of bears eating.
Hungry bears.
It's so weird because you get bear training and education, and across all the national parks we go to, there's signs and they say what to do and what not to do. And during the bear training here, they basically say, like, wherever you are in Katmai, you will encounter bears. There will be times when you're outside of the electric fences or protected walkways. You will be on a trail. You will see a bear. It's like very counterintuitive to everything I've ever learned about bears. And it's extra scary because they're brown bears. The rangers will say over and over and over, they're not territorial here. Like, they want nothing to do with you as long as you give them space.
I mean, like, they specifically give out these river permits for people to go watch the bears, so I assume that this is a relatively safe activity, provided that you follow the guidelines.
So we've hiked in about a mile. This is the entrance to the protected observation platform that takes you to Brook Falls, but we are going to be hooking a right to bear country. This area probably has the highest density of bears maybe in the world. So here goes nothing. It's time for us to be alert. If we see a bear, we don't stop. We definitely don't run. It's recommended that you talk at a normal volume. Don't yell. You can sing. And if they come, just go the opposite direction, even if that means going off into the woods to let them pass. Oh my God. Wow, it's like purple. Oh, wow. That looks fresh. Okay. We need to be alert. We are approaching the river. We literally were up on the platform yesterday watching a bear walk through this exact spot that we're walking on now. Hey, bear. Okay. So I think we just follow the coastline now. There's the falls. It's really hard to see through the trees. There's the falls up there. Jessica is very nervous. Oh God, there's bear. Jess, there they are. Up in the falls. Oh my God. There's a ton. So there's a bear there,
And then there's 3 up on the falls there. I cannot believe they let you do this. This is going against my instincts.
Definitely one of probably the wildest thing I've ever done.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know, what's scarier, this or climbing down Mooney Falls?
I remember us saying that this is like the craziest thing we've ever done before.
I think Mooney Falls might be a little bit worse. My foot feels wet. Yeah, my left foot is 100% soaking wet. We were standing on this platform right behind us yesterday. A bear literally just walked through where we were in the river. When you're not on the protected platforms, you really need to be mindful of your surroundings. We were constantly looking behind us and in front of us. You don't want to be just looking through the viewfinder of your camera the whole time because bears can come up behind you right away. And it's just very important that you be able to give them space. If they're walking through the river and you're in the river, you actually need to get out. And vice versa. If you're on the side of the river, you might actually have to go into the river.
Yeah, so at all times you have to keep at least 50 yards away from bears. So to be honest, it's a little hard to just kind of relax and enjoy the bears since you're always kind of looking around and having to frequently move because bears are coming at you in different directions.
Also, you need to keep 100 yards distance between yourself and any other parties who are walking along the river so that there's plenty of space for bears to pass in between the two of you.
And there are certain boundaries that you have to respect. For example, the closest you can get to Brooks Falls is the Riffles platform. So if you come to Katmai primarily to see the bears, I'd highly recommend doing the river permit. In total for 2 people it costs $86, but I don't know how many people can say they're actively standing in a river at Brooks Falls watching 6 grizzly bears fish for salmon.
Well, man, I am so glad that we came here. The bears are right behind us, feasting like crazy. This is such an incredibly unique experience.
I'm honestly kind of surprised they let you do this. Like, as we're talking, I'm constantly like
looking around for
making
bears.
Sure,
yeah. This has still been an extraordinary experience. If you have an opportunity to rent some waders and get out in the river, this has been really fun.
Definitely a unique experience. Look at those beefy calves.
Oh my gosh. Well, one of my pant legs stayed dry. I'll let you guess which one it was.
My waders worked perfect, but I feel like Justin's somehow getting the short end of the stick. Sleeping pad exploded. Waders don't work.
They don't all go smooth. So the primary activity in Katmai is bear viewing. However, there are some other trails that you can do in the park.
For example, there's Dumpling Mountain, as well as a trail that will take you to a native village site that dates back to 1200 AD, which we're at right now. It's pretty cool. You can actually see one of the buildings. Let's take a look. Welcome to the Pit House. Since we've been here, the weather has been pretty extreme, in addition to having some of the world's most scary wildlife around. So it's pretty wild to think that people just successfully lived here through the winter over 1,000 years ago.
This reconstruction behind me is an example of the kind of homes that were used by the native inhabitants over 800 years ago. And this is pretty neat. Here's the entrance, and you'll notice that it's got this structure called a cold trap, which goes below the line of soil, and it actually adds as a trap for colder air so there wouldn't be drafts flowing into the home. And when all of the earth is filled in, you would just see this wooden dome behind you. But it's a really ingenious idea. And it's really cool to think that people 800 years ago living in Alaska had these kind of inventive construction methods. All of the rangers here in Katmai have been exceptionally nice, and like we've actually connected with a few of them, and they're really cool people. And they are all freaking characters. Like,
We were talking, and it's like you're in a sitcom. Like, there's a stoner guy, there's this like nerdy guy, somebody who gives off like Jim from The Office vibe.
there's so many. There's like this sweet old mom. There's like this paleontologist dude. It's like, it really, like, there's so many different personalities. I would love to see like an The Office / Parks and Rec spinoff of Brooks Campground. That's actually even a good name for it. After checking out some of the trails around Katmai, we spent the rest of the day back on the platform in front of Brooks Falls.
So we knew that some people were enthusiastic about the bears. For example, I know that there's growing popularity of Fat Bear Week, which had over 1 million people participated in it last year. If you're not familiar with it, essentially it's this March Madness style bracket where the grizzly bears faced off to who is the fattest bear, essentially who gains the most weight before hibernation.
Yeah, but we really didn't appreciate just how extreme these people were. So there is this website called explore.org where 22 million people log in to watch the bears on a live feed. The bears from Katmai. We were traveling with some people who knew them by name, who knew their individual numbers, and some who literally had merchandise with the bears on them. They made it themselves. It was really cute.
It was kind of like being with a bunch of Swifties, but for the Katmai bears.
Furries? Wait, that's not what that means. Wait, not that.
So after we watched the bears feast for about an hour, we headed off to have a feast of our own.
We had a full day of bear viewing and river walking, and we went to a salmon presentation. If you want to do this as economically as possible, you have to bring in all your own food. So we're staying here for 3 nights, 4 days. So we basically planned out all of the food that we had to bring and packed it away. They also have a lodge that you can get food at. For example, I think dinner is like $48, and it's definitely not the kind of like Vegas buffet that I would imagine that most $48 meals would be. So if you're like us and trying to go to Katmai as affordably as possible, I'd suggest doing what my bear husband back there is doing and bringing food and eating your own snacks. Today, Chef Justin is cooking up some potato gnocchi.
And don't forget the cheesy sauce and the Ritz crackers that I took from the free food shelf.
I assumed since you can't take any kind of propane or lighters on a plane that we were going to have to buy some here. There is a general store, but they have this cool caching system where essentially people can leave behind free gas or lighters or even food. So we have definitely been taking advantage of that, and so we didn't have to buy our own.
So the campground at Brooks Camp was pretty rustic, but actually pretty nice, all things considered. It's $18 per person per night. In other words, making it 1/30th the cost of the cabins if you're traveling with 2 people.
The tent sites were really clean and well maintained. There was a vault toilet that was surprisingly clean that also had hand sanitizers in it, and a sink to help wash your dishes, as well as you can fill up water. And the water there was actually super
really
delicious.
Good. Yeah, really good water.
Despite their hefty price tag, the cabins still are definitely more on the rustic side. They essentially come with 2 bunk beds and then a bathroom, so you get a shower with hot water, toilet, and sink. And that's pretty much it. But there are a few perks, like 2 outlets where you can charge any kind of electronics as well as heating.
Because of the gloomy weather, we actually ended up spending a ton of time at the lodge. In fact, we made this routine where every night after our day out exploring, we would go to the lodge, get a beer for happy hour, warm up in front of the fire, and then we would head over to the auditorium for one of the ranger-led presentations.
Like salmon. What is this magic?
Justin has been wanting to do this, but has been asking, is it appropriate to do this? And he's finally reached that level.
Feels so good.
It is day 3 of our Katmai adventure. We are going on a tour called the Valley of 10,000 Smokes today. It's supposed to rain quite a lot. So far, it rained overnight and our tent stayed pretty dry. So it'll be interesting to see what happens when we're gone today.
So they have a gear cache, which is just a shed where you can store all of your stuff. We're going to leave the tent staked up because that just sounds like no fun to tear down in the rain this morning. But we are going to pack up our sleeping bags and sleeping pads and anything electronic and throw it in there just in case some like crazy amount of wind and water comes through here. I'm not like happy that this is happening, but people are like coming here with tents and then just abandoning them under the free food area. Did you know tents are not food? It's like people are just, I guess, too lazy to fly home with their tents. So I guess worst case scenario, we have some extra dry tents that we can take.
I didn't do a very good job explaining this in my sleepy state, but we learned right after we got there that Katmai burns all of the non-biodegradable trash that they produce, even plastics. They basically explained to us that it's less bad for the environment than all the diesel they would have to burn to tow it out on a boat. So we made sure to pack out all of our own food waste in our trash bag. If you visit Katmai, I would strongly encourage you to be able to pack everything out like tents and big plastic tarps so that it doesn't just end up getting burned into the atmosphere.
While most people know Katmai for its bears, it was actually founded for something completely different. The Valley of 10,000 Smokes, which is actually the site of the largest volcanic eruption of the entire 20th century anywhere on the planet. This valley is located 23 miles away from Brooks Camp, and the only way that you can get there is on a guided tour, which costs $100 per person.
Our tour to 10,000 Smokes was led by Ranger Mary Lisa. We met Mary Lisa the night before at her ranger-led presentation, and she is just such a gem of a human being. We had so much fun on the tour bus with her. She has got an incredible personality. She's kind of like a mix of Leslie Knope from Parks and Rec and Ms. Frizzle from the Magic School Bus. She's so cool. I hope that you get to meet her if you end up coming here.
While there are a handful of stops along the way, the tour is mainly focused on a 3-mile hike with 800 feet of elevation gain down to this ashy waterfall along the Hijack River.
Frankly, the tour is pretty much the hike, and the hike is a little strenuous, so if you don't think you're up to doing it, I would recommend skipping this tour.
So this bus ride is 2 hours one way. We have been stuck behind this bear walking in the middle of the road. And at first everyone got excited and we're taking photos. This bear has been in the middle of the road walking at a casual pace for 45 minutes now, and we've been stuck behind it, just kind of crawling along. At this point, it's kind of a bear power trip.
The plan was to eat lunch first and then go on a ranger guided hike, but when the ranger helped us look at the forecast a couple days ago, the rain and the wind were supposed to be really bad today. It's not raining horribly just yet, so our strategy is to skip lunch, check it out, and hopefully get back up to the top before the rain becomes oppressive.
I thought with our water taxi debacle that we wouldn't get to see this part of the park, and it's such a unique landscape.
Look at the fireweed.
Yeah, cool.
Oh my god, that's pretty cool. Oh my god, that's beautiful. Oh my god, we're making it there. Jessica and I are very motivated. Whoa, wow, that's so cool. This is like nothing else we've seen in Alaska so far.
Nowadays, everyone knows Katmai for its bears, but it actually became a national park because of the place that we're at, which is called the Valley of 10,000 Smokes. In 1912, it had the largest volcanic eruption in the entire 20th century. 4 different kinds of volcanic ash spewed into the air 20 miles high and 11 miles wide. Luckily, no one died as far as they know, but it obviously forever changed the landscape here. So I think where we're hiking to, we'll see some cool volcanic rocky formations.
Oh my god. Whoa! Woo!
Landscape.
Wow!
This looks like in Utah.
This is a 70-foot tall wall of ash that was deposited and built up. That is so cool. Okay, I'm gonna try not to die here. Woo! Oh my god, that's why the water looks this color. It's ash water. Wow, that's stunning. Look at these structures up here. They're like little volcano gargoyles.
If you're in Brooks Camp, you would never know that this is what it looks like, but it's so wild looking here.
Wow, it's truly bizarre. I cannot believe we're still in Alaska. Oh my god. Look at this place. Wow.
Look at these caves, these lava caves built into the wall. I was a little bummed that we were coming here in the rain, but man, it is so worth it.
In addition to the hike along the Hijack River, there's also an optional add-on that's about a mile to the confluence of 3 different creeks. It's pretty wild to see these turquoise waters turning into the ashy water of the Hijack River, but that's not the only thing that was pretty wild here.
Wait till you see this. Oh my God, it's so windy.
Windy and wet.
Whoa! Whoa! Oh my God! Woo! Yeah! That'll wake you up. Okay, I think this is the final hill. Maybe. I hope. I hope it is. Oh my God. This is absolutely miserable. The things we do for you. Subscribe. If we don't chill out here any longer, I'm sure Justin and Jessica will do a voiceover and some kind of cool B-roll. This is absolutely insane. By the time we were done with the confluence hike, we were soaked. So our miserable wet group got back on the bus, went back to Brooks Camp, where we promptly sprinted to the lodge, and we all took off our wet shoes to dry them around the fire.
It was very classy.
This was the rainiest day of our trip, and we were pretty worried about water getting in our tent. Luckily, our tent seems to be really dry, even despite the torrential downpour that we've experienced. Yeah.
Yay!
So, good job, Justin, in setting up a very taut tent that kept our home nice and dry. So you're probably wondering how exactly we're camping with all of these grizzly bears around us. Food hygiene is extremely important all around Katmai. One of the things that you have to be aware of is where you store your food. We're currently camping in an electrified fenced-in area, so the bears can't really get in here, although the rangers like to say it's bear resistant, not bear proof. A bear actually recently got in because somebody kept the gate open, but essentially all of the food is kept in a food cache, which means the food is stored away in a closed door area.
If you're staying in the cabin, you can keep and eat food in there, or there is an electrified fenced-in area that you're also allowed to eat in. Otherwise, you're not allowed to walk around Brooks Camp and just eat or drink anywhere.
This is strictly enforced by the rangers. There were multiple times where we saw rangers getting on other people that were visiting the camp because they had food out. In fact, we saw bears just meters away from the food cache next to the visitor center walking on the beach. So it is extremely important to make sure that you don't have any food outside.
Well, we are walking to our float plane now. The winds are supposed to be pretty bad today, so I'm hoping that the float plane will actually go, but I'm pretty sad to be leaving Katmai.
Yeah, me too. This has been, man, just a roller coaster of emotions. This week is like, it started really fun, and then it got not fun really fast, and then we were relaxed, and then we were worried, and then we were upset. It's just like been all over the place. At the end of it, like, we're really sad to go, and I didn't expect to feel that way 48 hours ago. I've just grown such a fondness for this place, and I can definitely see why so many people that we were camping with have kept coming back year after year. Yeah, it's a very special place.
All that being said, we still want to be able to get out, so let's go see if we can get a float plane.
We were a little bummed that on our last day in the park, we didn't have time to go to Brooks Falls to see the bears one final time, but lucky for us, as we were walking to catch our float plane, we actually saw a bear on the beach, seemingly also trying to catch a float plane.
He was sitting there for 20 minutes, and the second the plane arrived, he got up, walked up to the plane, and went to walk on the pontoon, and this footage is the pilot of the float plane shooing him away.
So after watching the bear for a little bit, we headed to the lodge to enjoy our last coffee around the campfire with all of our newly made friends.
While Katmai has become this special and beloved place for so many visitors because of its abundance of bears and varied landscapes, we absolutely fell in love with this place because of the people. By the time we were leaving this place, we had made so many new friends and
When we were sitting around the campfire just before boarding our float plane to leave, we knew the names of almost every single other person sitting with us.
Katmai in and of itself is really cool, but to be honest, staying there has this really unique adult summer camp kind of vibe. There's no cell phones, there's no internet, there's no real modern conveniences, so at the end of the day, you all just kind of sit around a fire and talk to one another, which is not something that happens that often anymore. It's really neat because everyone that we met there had such unique and interesting backgrounds, but all kind of shared this similar vibe, essentially this love for adventure and exploring off the beaten path destinations, all just to experience this incredibly unique place.
When we first got to the park, we were kind of taken aback at how many people we talked to that were coming back to Katmai year after year, but after spending a few days here and getting to experience the magic that is Katmai National Park, we totally get it now, and I am certain that we will be coming back again.
There's a variety of different ways that you can get to Katmai. You can take a day tour. We've linked to some of our favorite ones below. Alternatively, you can do like we did and stay overnight. If you're going to do that, the logistics are a little bit more complicated. You'll have to catch a plane from Anchorage to King Salmon and then a water taxi or a float plane onto Katmai, and those both cost $450 round trip. So the cheapest that you're looking at without accommodations is $700 to get to Katmai in the first place.
Exciting news, almost a year ago we had 1,000 subscribers, and at the time we're shooting this, we're almost at 10,000, meaning we have 10x the size of our channel in the last year, and that's because of you. If you enjoyed this video and want to help us grow, the best thing that you can do is click the like button and subscribe. It gets our channel in front of more people.
And if you have any questions about our time in Katmai, how we got there, or your experience, please leave a comment below and we'll be more than happy to answer it. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching and subscribing, and we'll see you next time.